I chose to practice law because I just love working with people, and I really love helping them, figure out what their issues are and how we can make some progress on resolving those issues. During my schooling, I was really involved in the community, and that's one thing that I love about employment and labor is that I do feel like I'm working with people in my own community. I'm helping them in a really tangible way, because if you have a conflict at work, or if your working conditions, are being negatively impacted in some way, that has such a major effect on somebody's quality of life. And so for me, working in law, and specifically employment and labor law, that just ticked so many of my boxes for, the type of impact that I wanted to make. So I work in both the labor group and the employment group. In the labor group, I work in a unionized setting, representing unions and also assisting their members with human rights claims, accommodation claims, anything of that nature. In the employment group, I represent both employees and employers. For employees, anybody who's having trouble in the workplace, if that's related to on a human rights ground, if they need to be accommodated, if they've just been laid off, if they've been terminated, I'm there to help discuss their options, if needed to correspond with their employer or to, initiate litigation. I would be helping with all of those types of support. I can operate in the background and just guide people on how they should discuss certain matters with their employer, or I can be more at the forefront. Day to day, I would have to say that my favorite thing about practicing law is kind of the human-to-human interactions with clients, hearing their issues, hearing their concerns, and developing a path forward together that's going to serve them in the best way possible. So in some circumstances, that means, informal negotiations that will lead to hopefully a quick and a fair resolution. But in other circumstances, I know that pursuing kind of a longer term litigation strategy is what's needed. And, developing those plans, collaborating with my coworkers, brainstorming creative legal solutions, that's day to day, I would say, the most interesting and ever-changing aspect of my job. When my clients come to me, they're often really emotionally vulnerable. Many of them have never gone through something like a termination before, or they could be dealing with a disability. They could be dealing with harassment in the workplace. They could be dealing with accusation that they've harassed somebody. And, in those circumstances, they're equally scared about, what's going to happen next. How am I going to be protected? How am I going to take care of my family? There's always a million thoughts that are running through clients' minds when they make that first call. And then after speaking with myself or another member of my group, I just hope that they have a bit more calm as they assess their options. So what I hope they always feel is I hope they always feel well informed of their options. I hope they always feel empowered to make the decision that makes the most sense for their life. And I also hope they feel confident that they've received the best advice, and even in difficult circumstances, that there's a way forward, and there's a way forward to protect, what matters to them, whether that's their reputation, whether or not that's, a reference that can help them in their job search, outplacement counseling, or just, a package that's sufficient enough to allow them to take care of themselves, take care of their family while they do that next job search. I think for me personally, especially when, an individual has faced some discrimination in the workplace, I think it's so important that they are able to, have some recognition of that and get some compensation or support for what they've gone through. There's obviously so many inequalities in our society right now. And, if I can make some small difference by representing people who have been treated in a discriminatory way, that for me is really fulfilling. One thing that, I'm obsessed with is just murder mysteries of any kind. And I feel like there's really a lot more movies out there right now that are kind of exploring this genre more. But there's nothing I love more than kind of being on a beach and reading a Agatha Christie. I've read almost all of her books, certainly all the ones that are starring Miss Marple or Poirot. Those are I don't like the other detectives, only them. So yeah, I mean, maybe I should have gone into criminal law, but I think it's better to have this as a kind of escape from the everyday.